Two main things that you learn when you first start boxing: jab and footwork.
I don't think it was anything that really put him in danger, but it certainly spoiled his usual momentum that he's able to build and really destroy people with.
Thank you, Michael. This is Raina Roan with your KO Fightcast.
You learn it from YouTube. Somebody gonna break your jaw while you trying to throw the uppercut on the left foot.
Welcome back to Knockouts Unlimited. We've got some wonderful fights to talk about this evening, and thank you as always for joining us. I'm your host, Michael Opdyke.
I'm your host, Joshua Burns.
And we're going to get right into the action. The first fight we're going to talk about is the Haney-Lomachenko fight, and what a build-up there was to this fight. Josh, this was a physical fight, this was a dog fight, and it started before they even got into the ring. There was talk across the social media platforms, people upset with the things that Haney was saying. There was the push at the face-off, and he was trying to get into Lomachenko's head. Haney, of course, took the role of the heel, which was easy because Lomachenko's coming back from fighting for the Ukrainian army against Russia. But the showing from Haney was truly excellent.
Yes, I want to give a big shout out to both of these gentlemen. They came in, they fought, they took the challenge of proving that they're the best out there. And that's what we want to see in today's boxer. Haney, being the youngster that he is, he's full of confidence. He went into this fight confidence, and he went into this to prove a point, not to Lomachenko, not just to himself, but the whole boxing world. He wanted to put the 135 and 140 pound division on notice. But there was a lot of technical back and forth going on there. But we did see Haney do what he always does, utilize that jab and kept Lomachenko on the outside. But once Lomachenko got in, we did see how masterfully he was getting his punches off, getting his combinations up, and working the top end body in that.
And to your point, Josh, I think you did a great job of really highlighting the fact that this proved a point for Haney. He came out aggressively, which sometimes he started slow, and Lomachenko has also started slow. But because of that, they both immediately got into the fight. As I said at the top, this was a physical fight. There was a lot of clinch fighting. There was a lot of moving the other fighter around with pushes. We saw Haney go to the body quite a bit with his rear hand, which we haven't seen as much in the past. And we saw Lomachenko land some really flashy punches up top, which I think contributed to some of the, we'll say, controversy around the scoring.
And I think because Haney started going to the body early in this fight, it played a big dividend to him. But it also showed me that he understands boxing, and they did their film work on Lomachenko. You know, you can't just attack Lomachenko at the top. You can't just headhunt when it comes to him. You have to do something to slow him down. He has magnificent footwork. So what are you going to do to justify that footwork that he has? You have to go to the body. You have to use your angles. If you notice, every time Lomachenko, just like when he fought Teofimo Lopez, they angled with him. Every time he tried to use an angle, Haney turned with him, the same thing as Lopez when he fought him. It was a very good fight, a very technical fight, and I went back and forth with the scoring, but I do think Haney deserved to win on that.
Certainly. I think that last round, at least for me, was really the deciding round. I know going into it, I had it even, and, well, not even, but I had Haney up by 1, and Haney was able to take it, and that's put him over by 2 rounds.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to think that he's now undefeated with 31 fights. His last 11 fights, not including the Lomachenko fight, have all been title fights. Where does he go from here?
He goes up from here. I would have said it. He goes up. Being that he is a young man in a sport that is dominated by people once you hit your prime, Haney is saying, I'm not in my prime. I was born in my primes. What do you mean hitting my prime? So he's taking on all challenges, and I would love to see where he goes from here. The sky's the limit for him. He has a lot of names he has under his belt, and then he has a lot of names to go grab also. But in the meanwhile, he's taking his time. He's playing the game, and he's learning how to work the media. He's learning how to work the boxing audience, the casual and non-casual fans. You know, he's learning how to work that angle by being more boisterous, He's kind of playing that Mayweather card, though, which I don't like that as much. I don't like people turning themselves into a villain just so you can get people to buy into your fights. No, be you. Stand up for who you are, and that will sell itself. Don't go and put on this alter ego just so you can sell tickets.
Well, he's certainly got a promising future, however he decides to proceed. Let's talk about a fight with a fighter where the fight was a question of, is he past his prime? And that is, of course, the Canelo Alvarez-John Ryder fight. Now, coming into this, again, the question was, is Alvarez past his prime? And can Ryder mount some type of offense that will put Alvarez off his game? And I think what we saw was Alvarez, once again, masterfully controlling the ring, doing everything that Alvarez does well, the footwork, the head movement. But the gas tank seems to tell us that he might be losing a bit of a step.
But see, when it comes to past your prime and Canelo, it's hard to really gauge if Canelo is past his prime. But if you look at age-wise, he's in his prime. But if you look at when he started boxing as a professional down in Mexico, he started as a teenager. So yes, that's a lot of years under your belt. That's a lot of damage to your body, wear and tear. So yes, he could be past his prime at this point. He still has the tools. I've always said Canelo gasses out in fights because he throws nothing but power punches. As many punches as he throws, 90% of them are power shots.
But with that being the point, in past fights, we've seen him put together volume combinations, even if it was only 3s and 4s. Whereas the last 2 fights, we've only really seen him throwing 1s and 2s.
And I really do believe he has truly bought into that I can knock anybody out concept. And that's why I say your power is a gift and a curse. Because you do not work on as much stuff in the gym once you have that power to knock people out.
Well, we've said it now with Canelo, and we said it with Tank Davis as well. That power can absolutely hurt somebody psychologically, but it can really take you far. So, when we come back, we're covering Taylor and Cameron, and boy, was that an exciting fight. But first, let's have a word from our sponsors.
In here, it takes everything you got to beat your opponent. Strength. Speed. Stamina. Having no fear. Knowing nothing can beat you without a fight. But you can't fight what you can't see. African American men have the greatest risk for prostate cancer, so get checked.
Why would you bully me?
Why would you bully me?
Why would you bully me?
Because it makes you feel cool? Because I'm different?
Do I touch a nerve?
Does making me feel bad make you feel good?
Why?
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 Bullying hurts. Bullying abuses. Bullying kills. Why would you bully me?
Welcome back. Now, as I said before the break, we're going to be talking about Taylor Canlay. Now, this was sort of a late replacement for an anticipated rematch, that of course being the Taylor-Serrano rematch. In 2022, that fight sold out the Madison Square Garden, and it was a sprint of a fight the entire time. All action. This fight was also a sprint of a fight. I mean, even though Cameron was visibly bigger because she's up a weight class and just physically that much, more powerful looking, Taylor stood in there and held her own.
Yes, she did. And I have to give them a hand of applause because these women are showing that they belong in combative sports. They need to be paid. Just look at the last fight between Taylor and Serrano. Look how many people showed up live, and look at the amount of pay-per-view buys they had. It amazed them, and it's still amazing everyone what they did. But this fight was just as spectacular. This was a very good fight, and I will say Katie Taylor, you have gained a #1 fan in me. I love that she goes in there, she fights, she gives it her all, and she shows her boxing skill. She shows her boxing skill. She came up on the short end of the stick on this time, but she likes taking the challenge. And that's what you want to see when we're looking at a combative sport. And you can't just say, yes, the men are taking the challenges, they're stepping up. Now you have these young women out there taking challenges, and they're wanting to prove that they are the best out there.
Oh, absolutely. She could have easily sat back and said, well, then I'll wait for Serrano to be healed up. I'll take that. I'll take the money fight. But instead, she challenged the champion of the weight class up, and she put on, like you said, a really solid performance. Her high volume combinations, her footwork, I think the physicality that Cameron brought to the fight was just a little too much and ultimately was able to edge out the win. But Taylor did an immaculate job with cleaning out every piece of that canvas.
Yes, she did. You can definitely tell she has the boxing pedigree behind her. Her movement, the way she moves. A couple of times I would have liked to see her utilize that jab a lot more. Because when she did, she was able to touch her and set up some other things. But again, she's a fighter. And I've noticed that in the Serrano fight, I noticed that in this fight. When she gets hit or when she's pressed, oh boy, does she come out fighting. And when I say fighting, she's laying the leather, well, who's ever in front of her.
It's true. No matter who she's fighting, anytime she has been asked to dig deep, she digs in, finds the answer, and shoves it into her opponent's face.
Yes, she does. And that's what you want to see in a fighter.
Speaking of fighters that utilize their jab well, let's talk about the Laura Wood rematch. Now, last time we saw Laura knock out Wood. Wood was winning the fight up to that 7th round, and then Laura landed a beautiful lead hook and absolutely put Wood out. But we saw Wood make some excellent adjustments this fight.
Yes, and you could say it could have been a lack of attention to detail in that first fight. You know, maybe Leroy got lack of days ago and everything, but whatever it was, Laura came away with the victory in dramatic fashion. This time around, Good said, no, not today. I'm not having this. We're not doing this again. He came out there, he put in the boxing lesson. So it definitely lived up. And congratulations to Wood. He definitely did what he needed to do to get that victory.
I mean, his footwork and the way he would set up his rear hand were excellent. He constantly circled around so that his back was to the center of the ring, which gave him so much more real estate than he did the previous time. And on top of that, he kept his right hand glued to the side of his head.
Yes, and he showed that you can move and punch at the same time. That's what boxing is about. It's about using your lateral movement and throwing punches. You see today's fighters, they either do one or the other. They're either moving and not punching, or just standing still punching and then taking a lot of punishment. But really showed that you can use lateral movement and far off combinations. You can be first or you can counter. He did that well, very well.
There's a great boxing trainer by the name of Barry Robinson who talks about that. He calls it boxing agility, the ability to punch and move in either direction from either stance. And to your point, Wood showed amazing boxing agility throughout the entire fight. Just excellent, wonderful performance on the part of Wood. He won every single round and truly gained that featherweight title back. All right, and with that, let's throw it over to Big Sugar Ray's Declassified with Big Sugar Ray.
Take it away, Sugar Ray.
This is Big Sugar Ray with Declassified. I'm going to bring you back to the beginning of boxing. Where I started, Muhammad Ali started, Jack Johnson started. You started in Golden Gloves. You start when you're like 7 years old, 5 years old, but you come up fighting in the ring, not in the streets. You come up fighting in the ring with boxing gloves on. And the Golden Gloves is the best thing in the world for all these kids getting in trouble today. If we had the government to give us more money, but we could help these kids be a better young man than what they are today, because they want to use their fists against each other. Get in the boxing ring and prove yourself where you're going. Like the USA Boxing, they got a great program. The Golden Gloves is a super great program. Every fighter you see on TV today, myself, Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, all the fighters, Joe Frazier, Everybody see on TV today, they have an amateur background in the Golden Gloves. That's where it starts out. And you don't care how many bigger muscles you got, how much weight in them. It doesn't mean anything to a boxer because we look right through the muscles because we train the jab, right hand, left hooks, uppercuts. This is what a fighter do in the Golden Gloves, and it teach him a lot of discipline. He don't even want to do no street fight. He'll say, man, go on about your business. I don't want no trouble. Because if he starts, don't start nothing, it won't be nothing. Because he know he going to end it with some combinations upside your head, in your liver and your kidney that you ain't never seen before. So this is why we need to start trying to help these kids out with Royce West, John Wiley Price, the mayor we got, Eric Johnson. We need to try to get government grants in where we can hit older fighters, older people who know about boxing can help these kids today. They can help them. You can't help these kids because they won't even listen to you because they know you never been through what they've been through. All fighters, we come up in the rough part. We come up in the commodity line. We come up in the welfare. That's what Muhammad Ali, the Jack Johnson, Joe Louis, just name them, Joe Frazier, they all come up picking cotton back in the, I picked back in the 50s, I picked cotton. Back in the 60s, we come up rough and tough. But a lot of people don't realize they think it's just handy food on a spoon. Like Mayweather fences. Mayweather come up with raggedy blue jeans on, raggedy tennis shoes on. I know his dad, I know his uncle, I trained his uncle Roger. Roger brought him from Kalamazoo, Michigan, brought him to Las Vegas. But he had a lot of discipline in himself about trying to be something. That's why he really won that gold medal in the 96 Olympics, but he really cheated on Mayweather. So this is where we started, the Golden Gloves. That's the reason Mayweather's fighting tonight in Sunrise, Florida, down there, against John Gotti, the gangster's son, John Gotti III, down in Sunrise, Florida tonight. It's all a show business, but they have to be in condition to do show business. And I love it because it's bringing more light to the sport. It's no real bang, bang, bang where Bob Arum gets the money, Don King gets the money, HBO gets the money, ESPN gets the money, Showtime gets the money. Give the fighters some money. Give us some money. Instead of them taking they living in the match. You never hear about a big time promoter going broke, but you hear about fighters, we go bust it all the time. But you never hear about it in football, baseball, basketball. But you hear about athletes. Oh, he's doing this, he's doing that. Oh, he's on coke, he's on hair. Yeah, he's so depressed. But you never hear about that owner. This is why boxers today and UFC fighters like Dana White, he's stealing all the money from these UFC fighters right now. When they get my age, I'm 72. When they get my age, they'll start feeling them aches and pains in their ligaments and wonder what's the matter. They have brain injuries, wonder what's the matter with them because and they won't have no money because we independent contractors, we do not have no retirement. We don't have no health insurance. No, sir. Them promoters, they stick all that money deep in their pocket. And once it go in their pocket, them Don Kings, them Bob Arum, it doesn't come out, sir. They'll pat you on your back. But once they're through with you, they do you like a dish. You only pick a dish rag up when you need to use it. That's what they do. They pick you up when they need to use you. When they through using you, they throw you back down. So that's what fighters got to get smarter today when they coming up through these Golden Gloves to start reading about the old time fighters, the way we come through. And the way the Dallas Golden Gloves is. Dallas had a great program, got Debbie Holmes and all these great people here in Dallas, Texas. Got Barney. All of it is great for the sport of boxing. And it takes a village to raise a bunch of kids into boxing because it takes a lot of time. Yes, sir. This is Big Sugar Ray with Knockouts Declassified.
Take me away somewhere nice, somewhere that I can Jason, let's go see your room.
What do you think? We kept it a little spare, so you can decorate it how you like.
Dinner! Oh?
Excellent. Soccer is fun. Yeah, I saw you guys out there. Where the
Welcome back. All right, let's talk about an exciting cruiserweight title fight. That, of course, is the Vasiliy Smith fight. Now, Josh, we talked about the Lomachenko-Haney fight. If that was a physical fight, this was a wrestling match.
Yes, it was. Wrestling, a little bit of mixed martial arts. If you want to talk about dirty boxing, it was halfway there. It was trying to push the limits of rules and what they can do in there, but it was a very physical fight. If you don't train for that type of fight, you're not going to make it in that type of fight. But it ended up being a fight overall.
You know, one of the interesting things about this fight was, to your point, that is absolutely a style that you can use. Anybody that says that there is not grappling that takes place within boxing is not watching the sport. It's not what you would think about as a traditional style of grappling, but that inside work, the clinch fighting, slowing down your opponent, hanging on them like we saw Coley do to Vasiliy Smith to try and wear him out, absolutely is an aspect of boxing.
Oh, very, very much so. And if someone says it's not, they have not been watching boxing very long, because even from the beginning of boxing, you had that. And then especially when you come to the more modern era, when you have Bernard Hopkins, James Toney, those guys who was physically beating you up in the ring. I mean, they're hitting hips and everything because they want to win the fight and they want to inflict punishment on you. So yes, all that stuff is involved in boxing. But yes, this was a good throwback there. So they pushed each other's limits.
And Coley certainly pushed the limits of what was allowed within the ring. We saw the ref cautioning him almost every single round, multiple times, to the point that he took 2 points on different occasions. And like you said, you have to be conditioned for that style of fight. And towards the end of the fight, we definitely saw it wearing on Coley.
Yes, we did see it wearing on him. And but man, what can I say? The man, he fought. I mean, he went out there and did what he had to do. The name of the game is to win. You know, you're going to get a win. If it's rules are there to protect the fighters, but you float along the lines of those rules all the time in boxing. And they definitely floated and they flirted with the rules and everything, and it turned out to be a real physical fight. I didn't mind saying that because I know what it takes to be in that ring. I know you want to get any advantage you can. So it ended up being a good scrap.
Oh, that's why they have the third man in the ring.
Yes.
It's his job to enforce the rules.
Exactly.
Talks to you beforehand. And Vasiliy Smith's corner even cautioned the ref before. They said, we know that Coley likes to hold. We know he's going to hold. Keep an eye on it. And again, the ref would let them work for a bit. He wasn't immediately separating them. I don't think that as the rounds went on that Coley was being active enough immediately enough. He would throw his jab, get on top of Willem, and kind of hang there. Whereas in the earlier rounds, we saw him trying to go to the body, going to the head.
Yes, and that's a good point. It is the ref's job to warn the fighters and to jump in and separate them. If the ref isn't doing that, by all means, do whatever you can to win that fight. And that's exactly what he was trying to do. He was trying to win the fight, and he did everything he could.
And the bad part is that in the process of doing everything that he could, I think he took the fight away from himself. Because again, he had 2 points taken. We saw 2, you could say, questionable knockdowns that were, given a standing 8 count towards the end of the fight. The standing 8 count that was given during, I think it was the 7th round, that was certainly a proper standing 8 count.
Yeah.
And Willem definitely landed solidly. But those last 2 almost seemed to be a function of exhaustion, where we saw Coley literally falling forward onto Bilham's legs.
And I agree with that. But he did himself in service by getting those points deducted from him. I think he tried too hard to make it a rougher fight than it should have been. If he just stuck to his boxing and did what he needed to do boxing-wise, he would have come away with the victory. But he defeated himself by getting those points taken away.
Absolutely. Well, now it's time to hear what fights we have coming up. So we're going to throw it over to our own Raina Roan with the Fight Cast.
Thank you, Josh and Michael, for that awesome recap of recent fights. My name is Raina Roan, and this is your KO Fight News. Coming up on June 17th, the boxing community will be looking forward to seeing Regis Prograis proving that he is the best boxer at 140 pounds by defending his WBC World Super Lightweight title against Danielito Zorrilla on his home turf at the Smoothie King Center in New Orleans. Premier Boxing Champions will also be showcasing a 12-round fight on June 24th featuring hard-hitting interim WBC middleweight champion Carlos Adames and former unified champion Julian J. Rock Williams at the Armory in Minneapolis. Dalton Smith will square off against Sam Maxwell for the British and Commonwealth Super Lightweight titles on July 1st in Sheffield, UK. Also on July 1st, 23-year-old Jared Anderson will take on his first headliner against 34-year-old Zan Kasabutsky in his hometown of Toledo, Ohio in this 10-round heavyweight fight. The co-main event of Toledo will also include Arslanbek Makhmudov versus Rafael Akpajori. The boxing community will finally get to see the highly anticipated showdown between undefeated knockout prodigy Virgil Ortiz Jr. of Grand Prairie, Texas, and world champion Eimantas Stanionis of Lithuania. Ortiz will be looking to claim Stanionis' WBA regular welterweight title in this match, now set to take place on July 8th after Ortiz experienced complications from long COVID. This fight will take place in Ortiz's home state of Texas at the AT&T Center in San Antonio. Originally set for June 24th, Josh Kelly will now be fighting on July 15th after experiencing a recent undisclosed injury in training on his hunt to claim his world super welterweight title against Gabriel Corzo of Argentina. The two will be facing off in Newcastle. One of the most significant fights of all time will be contested as unified WBC, WBA, and IBF welterweight world champion Errol "The Truth" Spence Jr. takes on WBO 147-pound world champion Terrence "Bud" Crawford for the undisputed welterweight world championship in the highly anticipated clash from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas on July 29th. And later this summer, we'll keep our eyes out as Arthur Beterbiev, unified WBC, WBO, and IBF light heavyweight world champion of Montreal, will defend his belts against WBC #1 contender Callum Monroe-Smith on August 19th at the Videotron Center in Quebec City, Canada. This has been Raina Roan with your KO Fight News. Back to you guys.
Raina, thank you as always for keeping us up to date on what fights we have coming up. As always, I've been your host, Michael Opdyke.
I'm your host, Joshua Burns.
And this is Knockouts Unlimited.
This episode of Knockouts Unlimited was brought to you by the Blue Planet Media Group.